Hey, welcome back. Today's project is I got a sticky injector on this 1550 diesel. Figured out it's number 6 a couple ways. Well, for one thing, it was kind of wet stacking around it and it hadn't been before, so that was kind of a clue. And when you first fire it up, you could feel the other ports heating up, but this one wouldn't heat up as fast. That told me that things weren't working right. And if you got one of those infrared thermometers, that's a great way to do it. You can just point at each port, and usually if you got something missing, that port will be quite a bit cooler. Excuse me, fighting off cold here. Let's see, first thing I want to do is disconnect the battery. Gonna be working right there by the starter. Don't need to short something out. I'll turn off the fuel. Fortunately, there's not much in the way of these injectors, and I'm going to be changing the nozzle on this one. Unfortunately, I had one in parts, and I got to take the 2 return lines off. I do believe that's 3/8, and then just the 2 nuts holding the injector on, and then pull the injector out. Okay, I got those return lines off. I got the main high pressure line down at the bottom off. Nuts. And get my little pry bar here. This might be a two-handed job. Oh, it's coming. Yeah, gonna be a two-handed job. Gotta put this down. There, just took a little more prying and it slid right out. You can see the end there is wet. Good sign that it's not burning good. Granted, it didn't run very long, but it's important to try it, especially on that hole. Keep the dirt out, just keep it clean, put a cap on it. Get this thing cleaned up, but I'll put a cap on that first. And granted, to do all this, you need an injector tester, so it's probably not going to be something the average person is going to try to tackle. If you're just pulling your injectors to either take them to a shop or something, this part's helpful. But once you get to changing the nozzle out, that specific tool that'll be coming up is going to slow a lot of people down. Well, I've got the injector set up on the test stand. I pumped it up a little bit just to get everything primed up and everything. Gauge will go up, show where it's opening at. Might be kind of hard to see, but it's opening at about 1550. It actually doesn't have as bad of a spray pattern as I was figuring it should, but it's supposed to be 1750 with a used spring, so pressure's low. This is the nozzle that was in there. And actually, the pattern doesn't seem that bad. Grab you in. Get you down here a little closer. Seems to be atomizing it well. The drips you're seeing from up above are just the stuff coming out of what would be the return line. When I first hooked it up and was priming it up, it kind of had more of a streak. I don't know if just pulling it apart, I'd run some seafoam through the fuel tank and hoping that I've had that loosen up jet injectors and get things going again. And didn't seem to be doing the trick, but maybe the process of pulling it out. I did run the wire brush over the whole thing to get all the carbon and grease and crud off, and including the tip end there. So maybe I got something off from there, and that helped free it up. Maybe I'll have to just set the pressure back up to where it's supposed to be, put it back in, and see how it works. Save my injector tip for another project. They're not too bad. You can get them for around 60, 70 bucks at this point. But once again, if you don't have something to set the pressure with, it's kind of hard to change them out yourself. I got to get a wrench and take off this cap. That's how I adjust the pressure. We'll get that in just a second. Well, I've decided to see if I can make this nozzle work after all, since it seems to be squirting better after a few shots on the test stand. But if I were to take it off, this cap here holds it on. 3/4 inch 12-point socket will mesh nicely with those. Take your 1/2 inch wrench and just thread it off like normal. Inside you'll find, here's a new one, there's your part number, 1550. Pretty much any with this style injector are going to use that part number, 101971A. And you'll get this little plastic container. You want to keep this all as clean as possible. There's only 2 pieces to it. You got the plunger on the inside, and then the main nozzle body. When the plunger's all the way to the bottom, you can see the tip come out. Fuel goes through the holes there. I think, what's it, one of them acts as a dowel pin to align it, but on some models anyways. Fuel goes down through, down to the bottom of the point there. When the pressure's high enough, it makes that needle pop up, which lets the fuel spray out under really high pressure. Then the spring pops it close again till the next time. So, but this is like really precise. I mean, it just moves in there. No play whatsoever. It's a little sticky from the visqueen stuff they put on it to protect it, keep it from corroding. But anyways, all it takes is the slightest bit of dirt in there, and that plunger sticks, and then either it doesn't open at all, or it gives a bad spray pattern because it doesn't close completely. And you get what I had there. Sometimes running some kind of injector cleaner through will get that thing to free up, and sometimes it don't. You just have to pull this out and swap it. And it's not a terribly complicated thing. It's pretty easy. It's just precision. You want to keep it clean, and then you got to have a pressure tester to really set it right. But the new one does come with I don't know if I mentioned that. My head's a little foggy from this cold. New copper crush washer comes with the injector. And I've got the crush washer off the other end, or I'm sorry, the cap. There is a copper crush washer there. And I'll get this back on the test stand so I can reset the pressure. There's all sorts of different adapters that came with my pressure tester. It's something we've had around. I'm sure back in the day when Oliver first started diesels, it was probably their recommended pressure tester. It still works after all these years. Just diesel fuel and a hand pump and a gauge. But I can test several different injectors with it with the different adapters. So, you know, nobody comes up with the same stuff. Excuse me. Got to loosen this jam nut. And I didn't grab a screwdriver to adjust it with. So I will do that now. Okay, got my screwdriver. Let's pump her up. Come on, old girl. You can do it. Okay. So, just as simple as putting the screwdriver right in that slot. We'll give her like a quarter of a turn and see what it goes at. Well, that's right about 1750. Oh, there, it's stuck. Oh man. Now look at it. Let's grab you. I guess maybe I will change it after all. That's what a stuck injector will do. And I haven't haven't taken that out of there yet, so it's not like I messed with it. So I will put the new one in. I'm glad I did that before I went to the trouble of putting it back in. I'll see about taking her off, and we'll get some video of that. Got it broke loose. I mean, it's... let's see. Let me put the camera back up here again. I happen to park Herman right next to the workbench, and his tire is making a good tripod today. I'll be careful banging on that and mess up this cap, or if you're trying to reuse the nozzle. Boy, it's kind of sticky in there. A little farther. I should probably have my rubber mallet out or something like that. Oh, there we go. All right, we'll clean that up. Oh, and then while I was doing all that, the tip fell out. I can get it nice and dirty that way. Let's set that there. You don't want to emery cloth, wire wheel. The best you can do is soak this baby with a brake cleaner or something like that, but any kind of abrasive is going to throw the tolerances off and make a mess. So you don't want to try to clean one up that way. I don't know if it's just crud. It's not wanting to slide in the hole very good. There it goes. Could flush it out with some brake cleaner. Blow it out with air and get it cleaned up. See if I can reuse it. You know, a penny saved is a penny earned. But then again, what's my time worth? I can feel it wanting to hang up as it comes out just out of the top there. Hopefully this is turning out all right. Yeah, it gets stiff there, which it wouldn't normally come up that high. I mean, it only just moves a fraction of an inch, thousandths of an inch. That part feels pretty free. Maybe whatever crud was in there has gotten out now. Yeah, don't feel too bad now. Yeah, I think I'll clean it up, flush it out, and put it back in there and see how it acts. Okay, I've run the brake cleaner through it, wiped it down really good, blew it out with air, and just done everything to get it as clean as I could. So there it is. Looks a lot better. The plunger moves easy. When it's in the injector, this pushes against the spring and inside. So when that spring compresses until it gets to a certain pressure, this can't move up enough, then it lets the fuel out. Adjusting the screw on the top end down here puts more pressure against that spring. That's what adjusts the pressure. It's like I said, pretty simple, but also very precise. So, but that moves in and out much easier when everything's all cleaned up. It is not indexed. Some other tractors, the injector has to be indexed so it shoots the spray in just the right position at the piston or inside the chamber. This one shoots straight across, so it doesn't have to be indexed. Snug that up. Excuse me. Let's see, this is left-handed thread on my adapter, and there goes my crush washer. Spin that on. Helps to hopefully get the fuel up to the top. Still have fuel. That ought to have gotten most of the air out. That's mostly what it's fighting. Compressed air. Yeah, it should come a lot quicker this time. There, got a good spray. Looks like she's happening right about 1750 even. I will tighten the jam nut back down because that can sometimes, that will pull the threads up and change the pressure maybe slightly. Double check it. About 1750. Seems to be doing good now. We'll get you in there closer. I think we'll try that out. Like I said, it's got a good pattern, just really atomizing good. You can see the fuel just turning into a vapor, a cloud. And it's really not that hard to get out and work on. So I guess for 60, 70 bucks, I'm willing to try it out and see if it'll work. So all I gotta do is wipe this off, put my crush washer back on, put the cap on, tighten that down, and I'll be ready to put it back in the tractor. Okay, got my injector. I don't want to forget copper crush washer that goes on the end, or it won't seal up. Usually that comes out with the injector. But if you don't get one out, you better be looking in the hole to see if it's in there. Either, it would probably be leaking if someone left it out. They're usually reusable, unless they're really mangled up or something, as long as they're smooth on each side. And putting her in is pretty straightforward. Just slide it in the hole. Get over the studs. Excuse me. Nuts on. There is a torque spec for these, but don't crank them down too hard. I've heard of the ears twisting on these injector bodies, and then things hang up in there or whatever. They just, I think 3/8 is somewhere around 35 foot-pounds. Might want to double check that figure. That's what they're on, is 3/8 studs. But believe it or not, they don't have to be super tight. For only removing this one injector, shouldn't have to bleed the system out. I know the other 5 are going to fire. But it's not like the injector line got any air introduced into it, or the fuel pump. So I go back and forth a couple times just to make sure they're even. You draw one side in, it might pull it in a little more than the other side's loose. Well, it took a few minutes to get that nut on the injector line to line up right where it threaded on smoothly, but I got it. Got everything back on. Just got to hook the battery back up. We'll see how she runs. Probably missed just a little bit at first until it gets the air bled out. Is warming up good. 5, 4, 3. Now number 1 ain't wanting to run. Well, I guess at least that was a little easier to get to. Making all the smorts and smoke like she ain't. Yeah, that port's still cold. Ah, great. Well, I guess I'll pull that one out and see what's going on. Yeah, that's still good and cold down there at the base. Good heat at 6. Getting where I can out. 5 I can't touch. Number 1 still cold. Alright, well, we'll pull that one out. I think that just started because it didn't smoke that much when I pulled it in here to do number 6. And we'll get number 1 out of there and see what's going on. Okay, well, I ended up replacing the nozzle on number 1. I noticed the caps are slightly different on 1 and 2 than the other 4, but the nozzle still fit in there. But I tried cleaning up the old nozzle. It was a little more consistent, but it's still more of a squirt than a spray. Just didn't like the way it was working, so I put a new nozzle in it, and that seemed to be much better. So now I'll hook up the battery and excuse me, see if it makes a little less smoke this time. Well, it seems better already. Number 1's heating up this time, so that must have made a difference. Not nearly as much smoke. as bad. Oh, you know what? I forgot to turn the fuel back on. That'll probably do it. Now I'm getting all kinds of air whipped in there. I've got an electric fuel pump on it. Excuse me. I had an electric fuel pump on it. Didn't have a mechanical pump on it. Electric fuel pump. There's a primary pump. Part of the reason I added the electrical, well, tank was a little bit cruddy, but I changed the original filter over. This is the same style that the Cummins 5.9s use for a final filter, so a lot smaller micron. I've had a filter base around that happened to fit that filter, but I figured it probably needed some pressure to push it through just because it was such a small particulate filter. So, okay, now that that's been running for a moment, maybe she'll fire back up. Sounding a lot better. Well, that was an easy fix. Exhaust is clearing up. Well, I think I'll go do a project with it and see how it runs for that. Yeah, got a load of manure my brother generated, and I don't have any fields to spread it on right now, but I've made compost piles, and that's what I'm going to do is just run it through the spreader with some of my other compost on top, blend it all together and put it in a pile, make some dirt out of it. It's running better, but still getting wet stacking on number 6. I should have gone ahead and replaced that nozzle, and I guess I'll have to. Guess it was worth a try, but once again, I guess it's just better to fix it right the first time. See if we can get this baby going. Apron no go. I sheared a bolt or something. Too much wet weight. chain jumped off. Well, that ain't too hard to fix. Guess I'll take care of that. There. Got the chain tightened up, back on. She's tearing it up good now. And you can see it's still smoking. I'm gonna have to do that number 6 injector, just replace the nozzle. Live and learn. Ooh, too bad you can't smell it. Nasty. I'm standing in nettles. I should probably move. Who knows, there could be a rock in there come flinging at me. Everybody on YouTube be saying, I told you so. What the heck you thinking? Standing by the back manure spreader. It does a nice job of breaking it up, I gotta say. Cleaner than that before. Hell, I've got another nozzle, so we'll get her done. There's more of this stuff where it came from. He's always making more. Here's some of my old compost. It's pretty much all dirt. So incorporating some of the weeds that were growing on top of it, but it's nice stuff. In case you're wondering what I mean by wet stacking, I'll stand back here where it's a little quieter. But essentially not all the fuel's getting burnt, and so you start getting raw fuel coming out of an exhaust port or out of the exhaust. I get up here, I'll be able to point it out, number 6. There's a business end. It's like, those are wondering, it's a Gale 350, which is actually made by Knight. We actually sold both brands. We both sold Gales, we sold Knights, we sold the same model in each paint scheme. Looks like I should move ahead so it can finish clearing out. Okay, well, I've pulled number 6 back out, put a new nozzle in it, reset the pressure to 1750 because, like I was saying, new nozzle came up with different pressure. It was up over 2,000. Switching that out, things get worn as it goes in and out all those times. So let's see what she does this time. This time I'll turn the fuel on before I start it. There. Neutral. Oh, and I should hook the battery back up. Okay. Oh, that sounded much better. compost through it and see how it runs after a few minutes. But it definitely seems better with a fresh nozzle on number 6, brand new nozzle. Check her out. Hell, I cannot get rid of that mess. I'm starting to think I got a valve sticking or something like that. So that'll be something for tomorrow or a rainy day because the engine's hot. I'm not pulling the valve cover off with it hot like that. So I guess we'll tackle that on another day.